What is going on, guys? Welcome to Sixers Postgame Live. The Sixers season is over. It is over after an embarrassing performance here. An embarrassing, pathetic loss by the Sixers, 99-90 at home to the Miami Heat. We're going to break it down. I've got my man Rob joining us, who is just leaving the stadium, heading home. What is up, Rob?
That one is one of those demoralizing leaving of the stadiums that we've grown way too accustomed to in this city. You almost think the Danny Green injury early was the omen none of us wanted to see. And what does that do? Well, it makes you have to play, in my opinion, the worst bench in the NBA. And it really came to bite them today. I mean, so many missed shots, so many missed opportunities. Really, I know that they're only down one at the half, but in that first half, they have opportunities to really get up and get a lead. And they didn't do it. And then the second half, first 5 minutes, very similar to Game 5, they come out flat and it's over. And it hurts. It's demoralizing. And, now it's on to another off season where we sit here and go, what changes are going to be made?
Yep, absolutely. Steven's in the house saying fraudulent, period. I don't want to hear no effing shit about I don't give a shit. JoJo gets a gold star. Screw Glenn and his whack-ass game plans. Mr. Rudy Boo says James Harden left Embiid out to dry. And Cody says pitiful. Absolutely embarrassing. Guys, drop us a comment what you're feeling right now. There's a lot of blame to go around, from the players to Daryl Morey to Doc Rivers. Rob, you know where I'm going to start here, and I got to go Doc Rivers. Everyone gets blame here, Rob. Don't get me wrong. Everyone gets the blame. This team was flat out emotionless, no heart, no guts, absolutely nothing. But I got to start off with, hold on, I'm going to add my man Mike to the stream. This team starts off with Doc frickin' Rivers. His schemes are complete garbage. Either Doc has no idea how to adjust his offense, or his team has completely given up on him. And everybody in the fucking building know he's a fucking moron. Here is Glenn Rivers' game plan. Guys, go out and play hard. Play good. We have a good enough time. This guy gets paid millions and millions of dollars. They just called him a top 15 head coach of all time. How is this guy even an NBA coach to begin with? How do you shoot and miss a three-point shot and no one is near the paint to get a goddamn rebound? It's so fucking dumb that the Heat are sending 3 guys on Joel Embiid every single time, and Doc just calls for us to keep feeding him. Keep feeding him. You see Spo use every single opportunity to drop a play, and it typically works. All Doc does on the bench, on his fucking feet, is just wave his fucking hands, and he's just arguing. That's all he does. The biggest silver lining here the Sixers have in this is that this performance by the players, the writing is on the 100% wall that Doc is gone. Go home, Doc. I am done. I am done. I am done. You're out. You're up, Rob.
Well, I hate to burst your bubble, but I don't think it's 100% that Doc is gone. And listen, let me preface this, all right? Because there's this belief within friends of mine, within the people that watch me on here, to just think I'm just an apologist. I, in no way, think Doc Rivers is a great head coach. However, okay, and now take it for what it's worth, but I watched the bench during the game, okay, and I watched certain things. And I got to tell you, this league is about stars showing up when it's time to show up. And what I see, and I've seen it now, not just in this series, not just this season, not just with this coach. Joel Embiid, mental maturity, and I know everyone's going to tell me, how dare you, is horrific. It's horrific. He never is in the timeout huddle. Ever. Guys tell him to go places. He don't want to go there. I love Joel Embiid. I want Joel Embiid here. But I don't care if Red Auerbach is coaching. If your star is going to give those types of effort, it don't matter. It doesn't matter. What did Jimmy Butler do the last 4 games of this series? I mean, come on. Like, listen, Doc's calling sets. So maybe where you
Doc's
have a
not
point.
calling a goddamn thing, Rob. Are you kidding me?
There's
no pick and roll in this offense. All that Miami Heat does is pack the paint, double, triple team Joel Embiid. And what does Doc do? ISO, 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 ISO. There's zero adjustments from Doc.
Dives, that's not what is being called. I'm telling you, I am watching this shit. I watch him, I watch them, and I watch his reaction. They are out there doing their own fucking thing because these guys think that they know. Here's what I'm going to say. 3 second-round exits. It's 2 coaching staffs. It's multiple players. There's one constant. One. And I'm telling you that there are things, as you said to start the show, there's blame to go around, and everybody deserves a piece of it. But if you want to get into a situation where it's a coaching carousel where you're hiring a new guy every 2 years, don't ever think you're going to win. You're not. You're not going to win here. It's just not going to happen. It's not going to happen. So if you want to just cut bait, okay. But now it's, here we go again. And by the way, how many years does Joel have left? Truly. How many years do we think Joel has left?
I'd say probably 3-4 max.
3-4 max. So, all right, we're going to get rid of a coach. We're going to come in. We're going to have to put a new system in. That's going to take time. There's going to be a bunch of new players. That's going to take time. So are we just throwing away another season out of that 3? I just want to say, let's not let emotion take us to this new level of we got to go every 2 years. I got to go every 2 years. It doesn't work. It doesn't work in the NBA. Like, that's a hockey thing. That's a fucking hockey thing. And it don't work in this league. And if you become that team, you become NBA purgatory. And right now they're sitting there. You're right. They're on that. They're on the border. But I don't know. I just don't know if that's to me, you said it. The bench that they put together for a team that had championship aspirations is one of the most disgraceful things I've ever seen. That is horrid, that bench. And I mean horrid. Sorry, I took all the time. Let Mike talk a little bit.
Mike just stepped out. I don't know if he's coming back or what. But look at, like, it's just the little things. It's the little things. Like, Miami Heat, by no means are the Miami Heat some unbeatable great basketball team. This team shot 7 of 28 from 3 tonight and blew out the Sixers. Completely kicked their ass. And they shot 25% from 3. They out-rebounded the Sixers 58-42. 58-42. For me, it's the James Harden, like, under the basket. Well, Max fucking Strus gets an offensive rebound and gets a bucket. It's the unforced errors. I agree, Rob. Like, game goes everywhere, but it's the brainless plays. That's on Doc too, man. That is 100% on Doc too. Not having these guys, not getting these guys in position for rebounds.
Let me ask you this, Dives.
Get the board.
Let me play devil's advocate. Let me ask you this. In the middle of the game, as the game is playing, if you have a set where a guy's supposed to go to a certain position and they don't go, and they're just out there, like James Harden a couple times was triple teamed. It's called basketball savvy. If you're triple teamed, somebody's open. Pass the fucking ball. Like, pass the ball. They don't do that. Tyrese Maxey missed some, but the other thing is, how many open fucking threes are guys going to miss? Like, George Niang, if you're hurt, don't play. Matisse Thybulle, love you. Love your smile. You can't play. He can't play, dude. Like, you can't come back with that guy and try and sell me on his defense when he had 3 shots in the first half where I'm telling you, there wasn't a guy near him. I'm not even asking you to make all 3 of them, but damn it, make one. Yeah. Make one. And you know, like, it just gets to a point, and listen, we all do it, right? They lose we all got to find the guy to blame. To me, this was an entire team and organizational failure. This goes beyond the players, coaches. This goes up to management. Like, listen, I make that James Harden trade 10 out of 10 times. And anyone who says they won it is fucking lying to you, right? Like, I make that trade every single time. But when you make that trade and then you don't refill the backup center role, and then you don't even,
that's Doc, though.
No.
Doc Rivers. You should have been a game plan to have Paul Reed get those minutes from the second Andre Drummond was shipped out. There should have been a long-term plan.
There should have been a secondary
getting
trade.
Ready for the playoffs.
There should have been a secondary trade. Never, in my opinion, would Paul Reed have been ready. I don't care how much he would have played. The guy fouls too much right now. He needs more work. They needed to add another person that actually could play, right? Like, obviously, DeAndre Jordan's cooked, but, like, they just ignored it. They just fucking ignored it.
Yeah.
Seth Curry leaves. They don't even attempt to add another shooter to the roster.
It's not good enough.
And their shooters sucked. You know, like tonight at one point there was a lineup, and I'm like, oh my God, how do you have this? And then it was after Danny Green went out, and I went, oh my God, you don't have a fucking choice. Like, these are the only guys you can go to.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Like, you know, and that's where the organizational part, and guess what? And no one's going to want to hear this, but obviously this is revisionist history, but you chose Ben Simmons over Jimmy Butler 3 years ago. You did. And guess what? And you know what? Credit to Jimmy. Jimmy just came back in here this series and said, fuck you. And that was a big fuck you to the organization. And, you know, I will always respect Jimmy Butler as a player because that guy gives everything he fucking has. He just gives everything he has. And look, we all got it. We all understood it. But, you know, hey, it hurts right now, don't it? Don't it hurt right now not having Jimmy Butler in our locker room?
Yep.
It's
what a mistake that was. Real quick, Rob, let's go to some comments. We've got a lot. Quentin says we've never had enough coaching. Steven says many shots that were falling just didn't fall tonight. There were so many shots that rimmed out, it seemed like everything was going Miami way. Glenn did better than I thought this postseason, but it's just not good enough, says Steven. Quentin calls this a YMCA offense. Rufus says, man, Doc gets out-coached again. How does this team come out like this after getting blown out so bad? Yeah. Let's
get, as you said earlier, Doc gets out-coached. Yeah, because in my opinion, Eric Spoelstra might be the best coach in the NBA.
Yeah,
I mean, Eric Spoelstra is just a hell of a basketball coach, and most guys get out-coached by Eric Spoelstra on a given night. So, I mean, I get what you're saying, but, like, I'm not sitting here telling you Doc's better than Eric Spoelstra. No, Eric Spoelstra is the best fucking coach in the NBA.
Steven says Miami sucks. So many bricks they threw up tonight, yet they still got their pants pulled down tonight. Quinn says process 2.0. No. Miami was not that good enough, says Steven. Kumar says replace the entire bench. I fully agree with that.
Yeah.
Steven says JoJo does mope. I don't deny that, but this ain't the year to be bringing that up.
But why? But I understand. Like, look, I'm not trying to take anything away from Joel Embiid. I'm really not. But why? Like, listen, if you're going to play, if you're going to put your body on the line like that, and you're going to say, screw it, I'm out here playing, then play, right? Like, I guess that's my point. Like, don't mope. Don't show your hand even if you feel a certain way. Giannis won the finals on a hyperextended knee last year. You know, I mean, like, and it's hard because when I say it, everybody immediately jumps to he hates Joel Embiid. You know as well as I do, Dibes. That's not what I'm saying. Like, I love Joel Embiid, and I'm in no way like some of these idiots that are going to be out there saying trade. No, you build around Joel Embiid. I'm fully involved in that. But his mental maturity has not gotten to the level where I think you'd hope it be after really difficult playoff defeats.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And look, I credit him for the ability to go out there with all those injuries. But I guess my point just is, like, the team feeds off of Joel Embiid's energy. The team feeds off of him. And if his energy is moping, guess what? It's not going to go well. And that's what you saw all game in Game 5 and in the second half of the night.
Yep. Steven says Hakeem Olajuwon won at 32 and 33. Come on, man. Sam Cassell. Ben Butler says, thanks for the season's worth of content. Thanks, TPL. Man, I appreciate that, Ben. You're the man. It's kind of a bittersweet night for us, for sure, man. It's tough. It's real tough. Kamar says our bench is purgatory. I fully agree. Quentin says, I agree with Rod that Embiid doesn't always play smart, but you can't tell me that other players are just ignoring play calls. You look at James Harden. James Harden had 2 fucking shot attempts in the second half. 9 attempts total in this game. Embiid 24, Maxey 22. Maxey was doing everything he could. It just didn't happen.
I can tell you, James Harden. I can tell you with a matter of certainty that James Harden has been ignoring coaches' play calls his entire career. I can tell you that with 100% certainty.
Anthony says, number 1, fire Doc. Number 2, trade Harris for depth. Number 3, Harden takes less than the max or let him walk. 9 shots attempted in an elimination game is unacceptable. Steven says, Miami was piss awful tonight. Anthony says, also, Embiid needs to kiss his MVP hopes goodbye. Never allow him to play 60 games again. No more back-to-backs. I'm sick of watching him limping into the playoffs. His body cannot sustain, man. Anthony, I hear you, man.
He's got a point.
That's just nailed it. Absolutely nailed it. Rufus says there's no player in the NBA other than Austin who respects Doc. You can't blame Joel. Joel, how many times did he hit the fucking floor tonight? Like 13,000? Like it felt like every single possession, Joel Embiid was on the floor giving his all. And that was like my main take. I tweeted that out was like, Embiid's going to have no legs in the second half. And he shot, I think, 2 of 10 or something in the quarter.
They got to stop. They got to stop showing. They got to stop letting Joel watch soccer, though. Because some of the times that he hits the floor, you're like, dude, you just threw yourself on the floor.
Yeah, man. Cody says, don't give Harden a max deal. He is washed. We're gonna get to that next, Rob. We're gonna get to that next.
Yeah, okay.
Harden's the next topic. Quentin says it's hard to defend Doc when you see his lineup selections, not playing young players. And he says what he says during the press conference. I tweeted at Austin, who's at the game, to ask James Harden ask Doc Rivers if he sees James Harden as his, if he can win a championship under James Harden. Be like repeat the I guess all of last year in this moment. Steven says if Paul Reed actually played this more this year, we would have been prepared. If we didn't blow 8 leads of 20 points or more, we would have had the number 1 seed. Kamar says no one can ever shoot in Philadelphia. Awesome Well says, wow. Keep the comments coming. Oh, wait. Kevin says, every year, man, I'm done, defeated, bawling my eyes out. Every song's it just absolutely six. It's 100%, man. Like, it's the same fucking thing. It's the same thing, different year, same results. That we're complaining about the same fucking thing.
Uh-huh. I mean, it is. And I think that's the frustrating thing. And I think what we do as fans is look for the individual to blame rather than looking at the whole thing. And the whole thing is to blame. You know what I mean? Like everybody's to blame in this situation. Like for people say you can't blame Joel. No, I can. And you should. If he's a star gets criticized, right? Like it happens. Yeah. You should blame Doc. You should blame James Harden. You should blame Daryl Morey. You should blame the bench. They all are a part of this thing. Yep. Because now it's multiple years and things have not changed. And, you know, look, is this series different if Joel plays games 1 and 2? Maybe. You know what I mean? But the other thing we all love to do is we all love to be revisionist historians, right? Oh, see, you can't do this. You should have never did. All right, well, we could say, I guess what? I shouldn't have walked down the street the other day. I shouldn't have did what I did a year. Like, we could say that all we want. Fact is, you did. And the only thing you could do as players, coaches, organization is learn and try and be better in your next attempt.
Yep. I'm going to share James Harden's shot chart right now. Okay. I'm pulling it up now. I can tell you what it is. James Harden shot 1 of 2 in the game in the paint and 3 of 7 from 3. He did hit like back-to-back threes from three in this game. I think in the first half, but 1 of 2 from the paint. This comment from Kamar says, we missed Danny Green Hail Mary threes tonight. You could have kept us in it. I don't want to hear a goddamn argument about Danny Green ever again. I went on so many podcasts defending Danny Green.
I'm with you there, Dives.
And all I heard was Danny Green's got concrete in his feet. Danny Green runs like he shot his pants. Well, Danny Green is a huge reason. He's not a star, but he's a big piece. He's a complementary piece of when this Sixers team is at its best. And you look at it. You look at last year in the Atlanta series when he went down. You look at it here tonight. He had a steal and a three. Danny Green is fine. Danny Green is fine. And I just prayers up that he has a speedy recovery because that injury
was nasty.
It really sucked. But
like an omen. And not only that, at his age, is that the thing that ends the career? I mean, that was nasty. It
was really bad. It was like I saw it. And then I saw a replay, and I was like, I'm out, and I left the area. I couldn't even watch the multiple replays. But let's get into James Harden. That's the next topic of conversation here. James Harden, there's his shot chart, 1 of 2 from the paint, 3 of 7 from 3. James Harden, 9 shot attempts. I have a serious question, man. I think the biggest one here is, does James Harden even have the leverage to get a max anymore with this team moving forward? I think there's probably not better options than James Harden. I probably think the Sixers don't even have a choice in this one. But this is going to be the topic of conversation for the next several months. Yeah. Can you shell out the amount of money for a guy at his juncture of his career who clearly is not even close to what he was? And I know, like, he wasn't even that. I'm not even asking for, like, 2018, 2019 James Harden. I'm not even asking for that. But I'm asking for a guy that can step up in a game-clinching moment and do it. Outside of, like, a few quarters in this series, James Harden gave you very little. So it is what it is. I'm not saying get rid of James Harden. I'm just kind of throwing it out there.
Well, I think it's multifaceted. I think there's many layers to James Harden, and I think you hit on a couple of them. First of all, people need to understand, like, there's no let James Harden walk. He's going to be back next year because he's got a player's option. So even if you don't feel like getting him the contract, there's no way James Harden is walking away from $47 million. So that's the first thing. Secondly, Chris, you're dead on. I don't think the Sixers have a choice because you want to work out some sort of long-term deal so you don't have to pay him $47 million next year. The question becomes twofold. One, is James willing to take less and not ask for a max deal, which I don't know James Harden well enough to know that at this point. And two, are the Sixers willing to offer the max deal? I mean, that's what it comes down to. And this is going to be debated, like you said, until something happens, right? So for months, we're going to hear about this. But James Harden will be on the Sixers next year. I can guarantee you that. Because as I said, it's in the Sixers' best interest to try and work out some sort of an extension so that it's not a $47 million cap hit next year. So they've got to figure something out with that. It's just a matter of trying to get him on the same page. But there are, here we go again, where it's going to be a roster overhaul instead of 2 guys. Outside of 3 guys, I should say. Yeah. Because if you want to get better, and Joel and James and Tyrese are going to be here, is Tobias a guy that you got to find someone to take the contract so you can then go out and get somebody and spread it? Because here's the deal. As much as I love what Tobias did these playoffs, you're not going to win. You're not going to win with him. And you've got to try something new. And I would be shocked if Daryl Morey doesn't move him in the offseason. But as far as James Harden, there's so many layers to this. It's not just as easy as, do you sign into a max or not? There's many different things that need to go down. Look, the human being in me says if James Harden is a good human being, he's going to say, I'm not worth a max. But let's be real. It's the NBA. I can't say that with certainty that he's going to come out and say that. So you're in a pickle. And I'll say it again. I would have made that trade 10 out of 10 times. I'm not going to be the guy that says, oh, you should have never did it. No, you should have made the trade. But it's now a major decision that could really set the stage for the last 3, 4, 5 years of Joel Embiid's career.
Yep. Steven says, does anyone in here think an off-season health hamstring of another year with Glenn is the answer? No. That's just me. Kamar says, Matisse needs to start chucking threes.
He can't make them. He can't make them.
Steven says, Carolina Danny would have helped for sure. Second year in a row. Coyle turned it off. Absolute joke. Anthony says, our depth is horrendous. I love how Tobias played all playoffs, but his contract needs to be moved for complementary pieces. Yeah. I fully agree. Need more 3-and-D athletes. We'll be bringing you. It sounds like the Sixers might have their first-round pick this year. I've already got a list of 3-and-D athletic wings that me and Tiago will be breaking down in the NBA draft. So keep an eye on that. Quick plug on that one. That is my jam. Steven says, frauding on healthy hammy is the only hope. Awesome Wells says, great analysis, guys. Thanks, man. Appreciate the love. Kumar says, if you put depth around Harden, you have a top 5 point guard.
You know what? And that's, I kind of want to mention that. Like, there is a version of James Harden with Joel Embiid who could still be really, really good for this roster.
But he can't be an ISO guy. He can't be the ISO guy.
The ISO's got to go, but they've got to put the right guys around those two. And it's a specific skill set. Like, you need guys that you don't need all-world elite defenders, but you need guys that can truly defend, but that can also, in a pinch, knock down an open shot. Yeah. I mean, look, we can make fun of this guy we want. Max Strus, right? Max Strus will knock down an open shot for you. You need guys like that. You're not going to be able to sign a bunch of big names, but you can get Miami has 8 undrafted players that play significantly for them. When I talk about an organizational failure, that's what I mean. Miami found 8 guys that weren't drafted and have turned into a team that's in the Eastern Conference Finals. The Sixers have 2 guys that they drafted that actually, do things for them. That's unacceptable. That's unacceptable as an organization.
Kumar says, if you put depth around Harden, you have a top 5 point guard. Quinn says, no other move matters if Doc is back. I fully agree with that. I feel like it's just not happening. It's just not happening, especially with Harden. And like we just said, Harden can't be a point guard that just gives you ISO in these situations. You're not going to win with James Harden at this moment of his career. And this kind of goes back to the same things that we complain about Doc over and over and over again. He's a dinosaur. He kind of coaches the way he saw the game years ago, and it just sucks. Rufus says they based everything on Harden, and he played like an old man. He is becoming. I agree. Harden doesn't have the first step. He doesn't have the ability to fight through contact and dominate inside the paint in the pick and roll like he did back in the day. But I still think he's a great passer. I still think he has the skill set in an offense to be dynamic with the right pieces around him. I'm not shutting the door on that big time. Obviously, the biggest issue starts with the money. That's the biggest issue. But then after that, the team had just from the jump. I mean, I was someone who started this season, and I never thought the Sixers were championship contenders. Not once. I said that repeatedly. I do think there is a path to being a contender. It's just time for Daryl Morey to show why he is Daryl Morey and get something done here because I feel like we're just wasting Joel Embiid's career at this point.
Yeah, and let's give a little bit of credit where credit's due. the last 2 games, Eric Spoelstra has bracketed James Harden. He's bracketed Joel Embiid. And he said, I dare whatever other 3 players are on the court to beat us. And when they did get opportunities, they couldn't do it. Look, and this isn't taking anything away from some of those guys. It just wasn't in the cards. There was really no respect for anyone outside of Maxey after those first 2 guys. At night, I mean, my God, the missed layups you saw tonight.
Is this true? Anthony says, Doc just said, and I quote, I came to the conclusion that at the end of the game, we were just not good enough.
Like, we get quotes like that, I don't want to react because it could be totally taken out of context. Like, I want to hear the whole thing. But guess what? Yeah, listen, I got to tell you. I got to tell you this. They weren't good enough. I mean, flat out. I mean, if I want to be honest, like, let's be honest with ourselves. No one ever wants to do that. They weren't good enough.
No, like when you have those brainless turnovers, like just unforced mistakes against a team like the Miami Heat, when you're giving up that many offensive rebounds, when you're that out of position to get rebounds, it just the result is what it is. And especially, I mean, I put the stats out on my Twitter account. Like, the shooting from the Sixers on wide open shots is an embarrassment. It's a straight embarrassment. There was a play in this game where Matisse Thybulle took a corner 3. There was probably no one within like 30 feet of him. 30, like he had the entire court. He put the ball in the court and took a shot and bricked it.
Oh,
there are major personnel issues on this team, no question.
Well, look, if Recoil's got down there is right, like, I mean, listen, we'll see when time comes, when the contract negotiation starts. But if you read that the way it's said, that tells me James Harden is willing to take less at this point in his career to build a team to win a championship. I guess when it comes to NBA players, I need to see that to believe it. Like,
exactly.
I'm not going to take him at his word.
Yeah.
And that's not just a James Harden thing. I don't care who it is in the NBA. I'm not taking any NBA player at his word. Now, if he does that, good for him. That tells me you have a James Harden that wants to win more than anything else.
Yeah.
But I got to see that happen before I sit here and go, oh, yeah, we're okay. Like, I got to see it happen first.
Quentin says, I can't take another year of Doc's YMCA pickup game offense. I'll pick another team to root for. That's not in the cards, man. That's just not in the cards. Ben says, what do we get?
What? That's what we do. You stick with them no matter what.
No matter what. Ben says, what do we get if we trade Toby? That's a layered question for sure.
To me, the Oklahoma City Thunder are the team you need to get on the phone, right? All this cap space in the world. Let them next year, I think, will be the last year of that contract. Or maybe he's got 2 left. I don't know. But let them take it. Even if it's close to expiring. Don't worry about pieces in that trade. The trade of Toby shouldn't be what gets you to pieces. It should give you the relief you need to then go make the necessary moves to get those pieces.
Are you going to get relief with a Toby trade? That's going to be tough, man. Are they going to – they'll probably have to trade another first to get out of that, right?
Yeah, they will, but I think that, look, we'll say it again. You made the comment that, what's Joel got, 3 or 4 more years? I don't think they value that first right now as much as the cap relief to get proven vets in here, proven guys that can come in and help you win. They absolutely are going to have to give up. It might be like an Al Horford situation, right? I mean, look, we always say, oh, that contract's untradeable. Guys find ways, and if Daryl Morey's good at one thing, it's finding the ability to make a move like that to give you the relief necessary to then go out and do what you need to do.
Yeah.
But I hate it that here we are again, and it's like, oh, it's going to be a really intriguing offseason. I don't want the intriguing offseason anymore.
Yeah.
I want the intriguing season.
It's coming. Rufus says, if you keep Doc and give Harden a max, you might as well trade Joel. You're throwing away his prime. Awesome Wells says Embiid is an issue. We aren't blaming Ben now, but even last year, Embiid was gassed in the second half all series versus Atlanta. That is true. Embiid is great, but he has conditioning IQ issues. That's a loaded question right there. That's a loaded comment. I think it's spot on. I think the narrative, all the data suggests everything you just said, Awesome Wells. I think
that's a tremendous point that no one wants to say because it's like they don't want to criticize it. His conditioning is still not great. Now, I'm not 7'2", 7'3", whatever. Like, I don't know what it's like to try and condition that body, but let me put it to you this way. 8 minutes into the game tonight, he put his hand up and asked for a sub. 8 minutes into an elimination game, your star needed a 2-minute, 3-minute breather. I'm sorry. That's not something I'll ever be okay with,
Yeah. Let's keep going. Kamar says, I want to say get Brad Beal in here, but I feel like if he was, he'd forget how to shoot too.
Listen, I think that's a possibility. I won't say it's a strong possibility, but like when James Harden makes that comment, I don't think James Harden is saying, well, I'll take less money so you can get a bunch of – he's saying, I'll take less money so you can get a third star in here.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's the way he does it.
Quinn says, I'm moving on from Matisse Shake, Danny Green, and Isaiah Joe. I think the time to trade – I don't think – there's nothing Isaiah – I mean, he didn't have a good year by any means, but he's still like the Sixers should not be in any single process of getting rid of their athletes, and I think Joe still has potential to be a solid defender.
Dodge, can we agree on one thing?
What?
Can we please not have Furkan Korkmaz as a member of the team?
I fully agree with that.
Oh, my God. I can't do it again.
Keeping Maxey, of course. Maxey's going nowhere, man. Let's get into Maxey. Let's get into Tyrese Maxey. He's been just a lightning rod this entire season. What an amazing season for Tyrese Maxey. He's grown leaps and bounds from a ball handler, from a jump shooter. Just amazing year. And that's why this loss hurts so much, because he showed he's human. He showed he's human in these last two games. He shot 2 of 10 last game. What was he tonight? I'm going to bring it up real quick. Tyrese Maxey was 9 of 22 for 20 points, minus 24, minus 49 in the last two games. It didn't happen for Tyrese Maxey these last two games. And that was it. Like you said, they bracketed James Harden, Joel Embiid, packed the paint, made their shooters, Sixers shooters beat them. And Tyrese just didn't get it done. And it's a bittersweet feeling. I think he's going to be an amazing ball player for the rest of his career. But it's a tough end.
Listen, it's the greatness of Spoelstra, but it's also his ability to do this because of the athletes he has. When he's bracketing those other two guys, who's still available to cover Tyrese Maxey? Jimmy Butler. And for everything that Jimmy Butler is, Jimmy Butler can defend. And Jimmy Butler created a problem for Tyrese Maxey. And I think he gave Tyrese Maxey a lot of problems. And, look, this kid's going to just get better and better. He's the kid that in a playoff series, I go, this is a learning moment for him. Like, he's going to come back better because of this. He's going to spend his offseason going, all right, I need to learn how to be able to take the ball against longer defenders who are going to try and take me out of the game of their size. And as he does that, he is going to become that much better of a player. You can't say enough about that kid, man. You really can't. Like, I thought he'd take a jump this year. Never in a million years I think that any of us expect the jump he made. I mean, he won multiple games for this team this season. I mean, he was fantastic.
You can see Doc Rivers coaching in games 5 and 6 right there behind me. That's what it looks like. There he is. Ben says keeping Maxey. Quinn says Cork forever. I mean, based on that, if you're talking like $1 million, like veteran minimum, fine. But he should like
No,
the real take here, Rob. You touched on it earlier. Is like when you have George Niang getting major playoff minutes, when you have Furkan Korkmaz getting major playoff minutes, Shake Milton getting major playoff minutes. Like this roster just isn't good enough. It's not good enough. It's not good enough.
And
that's the real take.
Yeah, and I mean it's oh my God, it's tough, man. It's almost like when Danny Green went down, and in my head I went, oh my God, they got to play other bench guys tonight. Holy shit, this is a problem. And it was. They couldn't hit shots.
Yeah. Steven says, "Where's Tiago? I want to hear him. Rest in peace, Glenn." He was at the game, so I don't know where he's. I can't even imagine. I went on a Glenn rant earlier to start this show. I imagine he's feeling the same way. Steven says, "How long until we pile on Jalen Hurts?" I mean, there's no piling on Jalen Hurts. I think he is what he is. I don't like this Isaiah Joe slander. I'm not ready. Like, yeah, he's a young kid from Arkansas. Like, he's a shooter. No, we're not going there. We are not going there.
Well,
about
Isaiah Joe. Like, let's talk a little bit about young players. Your first round pick from this year didn't get on the floor. That when you're a team that's trying to contend for a title, you shouldn't draft guys that can't get on the floor in year one. I'm not saying they got to play 35 minutes, but there's no way you should be drafting a player that cannot get on the floor.
Me and Tiago did probably 40 scouting reports of NBA players, to NBA like targets for the Sixers.
Mm-hmm.
Jaden Springer wasn't one of them.
No, like that pick just made no sense. Like, why not pick a guy?
Well, what
player for you?
It was the players that were picked right before them, like Bones Highland, not Cam Johnson. I'm not going there. I'm not going there. But we will be doing some NBA draft content in very little time. Rob, where do we go from here, man? What do you want to talk about? The floor is yours.
I think that it's not going to happen because we're Philly fans and we don't do it. But I think we got to let this thing settle for a few days, for a week, 2 weeks, whatever. And then we have to understand a couple things. One, James Harden will be here next year. So if you're the person who says, I don't want James Harden back, you got to get on board with that. He's not going anywhere. Two, you got to see what the front office decides. I do not believe that they are going to want to pay two coaches that are no longer coaching here. So when I say to you, I personally don't believe Doc will be gone. I think a lot of it could be from that financial side where they don't want to, because they're still paying Brown for another year, and Doc's still got 3 years left. My guess is they give him a third year. I just believe that that's what's going to happen. So we have to see what happens first and foremost, though, with the coaching situation. And then once we know that, this is now, right, year 3. If Doc's back, it's make or break for Doc.
Cannot.
But year 3
no.
will be. But year 3 will be for Doc. You have got to know that they play down. James Harden, Star Center, and Joel Embiid. That's right, where I go from here.
We're losing you, Rob. Just saying, we're losing you. Anyway,
no.
yeah, we're losing. Looks. I'll go to some comments. All right, there you go. I can see you now. All right, you're good.
All right.
All right. So I have no idea what you just said. Anyway, I think I agree. I think I heard the first part is that, like, let's not overreact. The Sixers clearly need to add big time role players to this team. Are you team Bradley Beal? Like, what is your take on that? because I am actually I might be in the minority. I think it's way more important for this team to add depth and role players versus going all in on a guy like Bradley Beal. What's your take on that?
I honestly can see it both ways. I believe bringing a Bradley Beal here will attract more guys to sign for less money. Like, it won't be about, where you can still add good bench pieces and you don't need to spend on them. But I also understand the idea where, oh my God, if you give all the money there, then what are you going to do? And it's going to take a little bit of what I was saying. And what you might have missed is I said, if Doc is back, we all know what that means for next year. It would be a make or break on him. But it's also, no matter what, whether Doc's back or not, it's, in my opinion, Daryl Morey's make or break. You've got to put the roster together that can go compete for a title. Yep. And if they don't compete for a title, what good are you after 3 years? You know what I mean? So I think that goes, but I don't know. See, for me, like, Bradley Beal can light up a scoreboard. And it's so hard for me to say, don't go get Bradley Beal. You know what I mean? Like, he's a lightning rod scoring the basketball. He's a guy that can go get his own shot. And I think of him with a point guard like James Harden. But it does then bring up the question, okay, well, now you got 3 guards. You got Beal, you got Harden, you got Maxey. What are you going to do? I don't know how, but that's not up to me, right? Like, I like star players. I do. And I think in this league, more times than not, stars win games. So sometimes you just have to find a way to make them fit. I probably lean more towards going for Beal, but I totally see your point on it.
So my counter to all of that was James Harden did win this series. James Harden's a star. He's a shell of a star. I think the Sixers lost on all the little things in this series. They were not fighting for rebounds. They were always too late on rotations. They were taking terrible. They're always in bad position defensively for rebounds as well. I look at this team like just making way too many careless turnovers. I see this team from a coaching standpoint, they were not prepared. They were not prepared for this team, the Miami Heat. Quentin says, I do not want Beal. I want to line up like Toronto. We have a lot of work to go. I will say, I would do dirty things to get PJ Tucker in a Sixers uniform. He would look great here on this bench. Steven says a bunch of 6'9" athletic talents. Let's do that. When Doc is back, I'm rooting for Orlando. I just moved to Orlando. Dude, I'm going to Florida next week. We should hang out. I'm going to Disney World.
Nice.
Yeah, literally in like a week.
Awesome.
Quentin says, exactly, Steve. A few players that can catch lobs from Harden. That's it, man. The Sixers need to bring athletes to Philadelphia. That is their biggest weakness, 100%.
Andre Drummond should be back on a 1-year deal as your backup center, by the way. And then everybody that's like, oh, you can't give up Drummond for Harden. Well, now he's back.
I'm 100% good with that. Let's wrap up this show, guys. Rob, gonna put you on the spot, then I'll go after you, of course, because I'm lazy and whatever. What is the biggest thing we learned from the Sixers this year?
In my opinion, there was not enough there. There wasn't enough there. Even adding a guy like James Harden. The drop off from your 5 starters to the bench was maybe one of the worst in the league. And I love Danny Green, but when Danny Green has to be your 5th starter because you have no one else that can actually be a 5th starter, that's a problem. People can say everything they want about the NBA, but depth matters. Depth matters. Ask the Miami Heat. None of them are stars, but their depth is tremendous. When you go to Tyler Hero and Victor Oladipo as your first 2 guys off the bench, that makes so much of a difference. And they have got to build a team around who, as I said before, who James Harden is now and their star center, Joel Embiid. And until you do that, we'll be in NBA purgatory. We're not going anywhere. So, unfortunately, I love Tobias. I love what he did this year, but he's got to go. To me, you've got to build a team. You can't ignore certain positions because you say, well, it's only 10 minutes a game. A lot can happen in 10 minutes.
I also think there's an element here that, whoever is the head coach, whether it's Daryl Morey or not, someone needs to sit down James Harden and say, this is the player you were, this is the player you are now, and this is the player that is going to give you the most success moving forward. I think there is a mind shift that has to occur next year, starting next year. And that has to be part of this whole contract agreement too. Like, maybe evolving into like more of a Chris Paul kind of basketball player that focused on just more efficient basketball, less ISO, pick and roll, that kind of stuff. Understanding the nuances of the offense. So I think if James Harden is willing to accept a new role like that, we'll see. I have my doubts personally. But Steven says Drummond will be. Yeah. Ben says smash the like button. Good people. Thanks, man. Thank you so much. Kamar says Embiid needs a backup. Steven says if Seth Curry was still here instead of Tissue, who knows what would happen. Quinn,
I said that. Listen, you know it. Sides, you know it. When that trade was going down, before it went down, I was very adamant that I would have rather traded Matisse Thybulle and kept Seth Curry. I was very adamant on that. Now I don't know how much of a difference it would have made, but I'm going to stand by that one.
Steven says, see you on the next Eagles podcast. Trust the post process.
Oh God.
Rob, we did a schedule reaction win-loss prediction. Do you know what I said?
Let me guess. You went 17-0.
12-5. 12-5.
Well, I tell you what, the way that schedule breaks out, 5-1 to start the season is an absolute possibility.
Yeah, it's a favorable schedule. Yeah,
that first 6 games, you could be 5-1 going into that first Dallas game. The other thing is, it's amazing what a couple trades to make your offense more powered does. They have 3 home primetime games and 1 on the road. Like they got 4 or like 5 primetime games this year.
That's awesome.
So they'll be fun. They'll be exciting. I'll be ready to talk about them soon.
Yeah.
I'm going to go watch the Phillies and commiserate. It was a very, very sad ending to another season in this town.
Love it. Quentin has them at 10-7. Kamar says 9-7, 10-6. So we did drop. I broke down every single game previously, like during halftime of the Sixers game. So if you want, I put in a lot in it. Like there's a lot of stats and stuff. So check that out, guys. Please. My final take. Coyle says 11-5. My final take of this Sixers season was Tyrese Maxey is fucking legit.
Yeah,
he's legit. Like if there was anything that surpassed expectations this year, it begins and ends with Tyrese Maxey. I think, the sticks keep getting pushed back when we talk about how good this kid can be. He's grown leaps and bounds as a jump shooter in 2022. I think the next phase of his development is more kind of learning to be a ball handler and learning to kind of play with different paces, change of pace, kind of guard, drive, kick, find an open, cutter or open shooter on the perimeter or under the basket. I think Tyrese Maxey is everything Sixers fans should be excited about. So this sucks. Yes, this sucks. But I think the Sixers have a star in the making in Tyrese Maxey, and that's worth something. That is 100% worth something. And I think that goes into the equation of what does that mean for the James Harden contract? 100%. Like there's a piece of that where, 6-7 months from now, I would say James Harden 100%. But now there's a Tyrese Maxey variable in the equation that I think changes things just a little bit. The dude is only 21 years old. He needs to improve his defense. He needs to improve himself as a ball handler, even if that's not what he is. I think he excelled this year specifically in this offense, and I think it's just scratching the surface. Any takes on Tyrese?
Oh, I mean, what is there to say about this kid that's not positive at this point? I mean, everything he did, he answered the bell. Listen, he got put into a really difficult situation to begin this season. I know this season has felt like 5 years long, but it was not that long ago where we found out Ben Simmons was not going to play, and here comes Tyrese Maxey having to put up the big minutes, and he answered it, man. He just answered it. Like, when we finally can get over this loss and this frustration, I think what a lot of people will look back on with this season is the development of Tyrese Maxey. And, that's crucial. That's so crucial to this team. And I actually think what Kamar is saying here is a good point. Like, if Harden was willing to accept this role, I think Harden can be a good teacher, mentor to a Tyrese Maxey in certain ways. Ways. Please don't teach him how to ISO. But I listen, I love this kid. I love that they drafted him. I love that they didn't give him up last year. And maybe that's the one silver lining this year was we get to watch this kid grow here.
Yep, 100%. All right. It's kind of bittersweet. Wait, Quinn says final take. Doc sucks. Danny Green is old. Ah, stop it. Trade Embiid. Oh my gosh, he's just trolling. He's just trolling. All right. Final thoughts, man. Like every single game this year, I put out highlight reels of Maxey, Embiid, pick and roll videos of Embiid and Harden. Man, it's bittersweet, man. I love the Sixers to death. Yeah. So this is like the NFL draft time where like I'm excited that I can sleep in tomorrow morning. Because I'm up at like 5 a.m. in the morning putting out highlight reels. But it ends tonight. So here we are. Sorry to cut you. I had this conversation with somebody tonight, and I said, this is the first year that I've had like a partial ticket plan. I went to 11, 12, 13 games. I was in the building, and it's funny when you start to do that, you grow an emotional attachment, even more so than you've had in the past. Like but like this year, I was emotionally in on this team, man. Like as much as I've been on the Eagles in the past, and that's big for me to say. But I'll say, my father and I talked about on the way home, which was one of the coolest things, honestly, about this season for me was, my dad had bought the season tickets for the Eagles years ago, but stopped going. But me and my dad got to 8 or 9 games together this year, which was just, if you have kids, if you have your father, it's a really cool thing. And my favorite thing is that he's in for next year. Like we're going to do this again next year. And, and we're all going to be back emotionally charged and ready to go come October next year. Oh yeah.
But, it's been fun. Yeah, it's a very bittersweet ending.
We got James in the house saying, fire Daryl Morey, clean house, tell Harris to sell a team. Pump the brakes, man. The Sixers were never going to win a championship this year to begin with, man. It was a never, ever, even with the Ben Simmons thing was a shitty situation. There was no way out of it. I agree Daryl Morey needs to put his imprint on this team sooner than later. It is time.
But by the way, the Ben Simmons thing is why I don't think you're going to see massive coaching or executive changes this year. I think everybody whether it's a good excuse or not, that's a situation no franchise wants to have to deal with. And I don't know if they're going to call out scapegoats this year. I think what they might end up doing is saying Ben Simmons is the scapegoat for everything. Honestly, I think that could be the point.
All right, man. Let's wrap this show up. We're an hour. This is the longest post-game show we've done in a long time. Rob, plugs? Anything you want to final thoughts, plugs?
I don't know. At Philly_madness. I guess we're going to Eagles now, Dibes. I guess that's where we go next with Party on Broad. I know Dibes is working up some good things for us to do, and some crossover shows, some good things. We'll start previewing. At least until the season starts, we're going to be really excited about the Eagles. I don't know what'll happen if they lose to Detroit in week 1.
You never know, man.
Yeah. So
Jared Goff just lights up their ass. Yeah.
Yeah. Say, hey, catch me on Twitter. I'll still be tweeting stuff out from time to time. My guess is everyone telling me I'm an idiot because I ripped Joel Embiid. I'm just look, why I like doing this is because I'm always going to give you my honest opinion. Whether you agree with me or not, I'm going to tell you how I feel, and I'm fine having arguments about it. I'm fine talking about it. So we'll have some fun, and I'll start cursing about some other NFL cities this year. I don't.
So much Eagles content coming. We're in the works of a weekly roundtable of Eagles content. 100%. I just dropped my schedule prediction of breaking down every team. Check that out on the channel. I'm also going to make it an article on thepenguins.com as well, because I've got 3,000 words on it. And then what else? We've got a Cowboys preview next week we're going into enemy territory with a Cowboys YouTuber. I got to message you about that, Rob. Don't let me forget. We've got beef jerky coming in. We're going to be sampling some beef jerky with Cam Jurgens and his new product. That's going to be a lot of fun. Quill says Cleveland is a great place. Then we've got, I've also got a Giants preview of another big YouTube channel that'll be joining us to break down the Giants. So we're kind of shifting into Eagles, all Eagles, and the NBA draft for sure. So thank you everyone for watching, man. Sixers didn't get it done. It sucks. It is what it is. But thank you for everybody, to anyone that has come across this channel, watching Sixers content, giving us a like, all that kind of stuff. Top Gun 2, I've heard, is a Best Picture worthy film. I've heard my friends who have seen it have said it's the best movie of the year.
Really?
So,
I'm going to see Doctor Strange tomorrow evening.
Oh, cool. Yeah, it's really good. It's really good.
I'm excited.
You'll like it. It's really fun. But the Top Gun 2 early reviews I have friends in the entertainment industry, and they are blown away by it, saying it's terrific. But then again, thank you everyone, Sixers wise. Thank you everyone. Thank you everyone that have been a part of this. It's been a journey. We'll be back next year, of course. Improving as much as possible, giving you even better content as much as possible. But for Rob, for myself, it's over, man. Suck. Stay for the last time for Sixers post-game shows. I say this every time. Stay awesome, everyone.